Welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a really fascinating question. How do we actually see the world? And, more importantly, why do we all see it so differently? We're going to explore the hidden world of perception.
Really think about it. You go see a movie with a friend, one of you absolutely loves it, the other one hates it. You meet a new person at work, one of you thinks they're confident, the other thinks they're arrogant. It's the same movie, it's the same person. So, what is going on here?
Okay, let's break this down with a super simple example. Imagine two people in the exact same room at the exact same time. Person A feels a chill, so they put on a sweater. Person B, meanwhile, feels warm and decides to take theirs off. Now here's the wild part. Their behavior isn't based on what a thermometer would say the objective temperature is. Nope. It's based entirely on their own personal perception of that reality.
So to really unpack this, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at how each of us builds a totally unique reality. Then, we'll explore the brain's two-way street for seeing. After that, we'll uncover the hidden filters that shape your world, and then get into why we so often misjudge people. And finally, we'll talk about how we can all start seeing things and people a little more clearly.
All right, so let's jump into our first section, your unique reality. The key thing to get here is that your brain isn't just some video camera passively recording everything that's happening out there. It's much more like an artist, actively painting its own unique picture of the world.
And this all boils down to a process called perception. It really happens in 3 steps. First, our brain selects what it's going to pay attention to from the millions of things coming at us. Then, it organizes all that information into patterns it recognizes. And finally, it interprets it to give it all meaning. And that's how raw data becomes, well, our reality.
So let's look at how this all works, because it's not a one-way thing. It's more like a constant conversation between what's coming in through your senses and what's already rattling around in your head. Your brain is literally building what you perceive moment by moment.
Think of it like a two-way street. Bottom-up processing is all the raw data flowing in from your senses. The light hitting your eyes, the sounds hitting your ears. But at the exact same time, you've got top-down processing, where your brain sends information down to make sense of it all, using your past experiences, your knowledge, and basically what you expect to see.
Okay, check this out. This is a perfect example of top-down processing. Just read this sentence. This sentence is incorrect, but you will still be able to understand it. Your brain didn't get hung up on all the spelling mistakes, did it? Nope. Your experience with language just let you automatically fill in the gaps and understand the meaning. That's your brain working from the top down. Pretty cool, right?
So, if our brain is constantly using our past experiences and our expectations to figure out the world, what are those filters? What are the specific things that actually shape what we notice and how we make sense of it?
Well, it really comes down to 3 big categories. First, there's the perceiver. That's you. Your own attitudes, your interests, your memories, they all act as a filter. Second, there's the target, the thing you're actually looking at. Is it new? Is it loud? Is it moving? Our brains are wired to notice that stuff. And third, there's the situation. The time of day, where you are, the social setting, it all changes how we perceive the exact same thing.
Our brains are also hardwired to organize everything we see. Take something called the figure ground principle. Look at this image. Your brain doesn't just see a jumble of shapes. It immediately pulls out a main object, the figure, and separates it from the background. I'm willing to bet you saw that single black triangle first, right? That's because it stands out from the ground of white triangle.
And our brains don't stop there. We also automatically group things that are close to each other, that's proximity, and things that look alike, that's similarity. It's all part of our mind's constant, totally unconscious mission to create order out of the chaos of information around us.
Okay, now this is where it gets really important for our day-to-day lives. These same mental processes can lead us to take some common mental shortcuts, especially when we're trying to figure out other people. And these shortcuts can have some pretty big consequences. First up is something called the halo effect. This is when we let one single trait, whether it's good or bad, cast this halo over our entire impression of a person. We basically take one little piece of information and then we generalize from it, and, well, we're often wrong.
So here's a classic example. An interviewer meets a job candidate who has a really firm handshake. That first impression is positive. Right away, the interviewer might think, wow, this person must be confident and capable. That handshake has created a halo. And now the interviewer might unconsciously start to overlook some very real weaknesses in the candidate's actual experience.
Next is a shortcut we are all very familiar with, stereotyping. This is what happens when we judge someone based on our idea of a group they belong to, instead of, seeing them as an actual individual. It's a way our brain tries to simplify a really complex world, but it's often incredibly inaccurate.
For example, say someone meets a person and finds out they're a politician. Now, if their mental stereotype for that group is all politicians are corrupt, they just slap that label on. And what happens then? The individual's actual character, their honesty, their unique personality, all of that just gets completely ignored in favor of this simple and often totally wrong group label.
And finally, there's projection. Now this one is a little tricky. It's when we take our own feelings, our own motives, or our own personality traits, and we attribute them to other people. It's like we're seeing our own reflection in them, especially the parts of ourselves we don't really like or want to admit to.
So imagine someone who is themselves dishonest, but they just can't see it or won't admit it to themselves. What might happen is they become super suspicious of everyone else. They're constantly seeing dishonest motives in other people's actions. They are literally projecting their own trait out onto the world, and it colors their entire social reality.
Okay, so we've seen how our perception is built, what filters it, and the common mistakes we can make. So what do we do about all this? How can we use this knowledge to see the world and the people in it a little more clearly?
And this is exactly why this matters so much. This isn't just some abstract mental exercise. Our perceptions directly drive our behavior. Look at this work example. An employee sees that only the individual performers are getting promoted. Their perception becomes that the company doesn't value teamwork. So what happens? Their actions change. They might start withholding information from their colleagues or skipping team meetings. A simple perception creates this chain reaction that can change an entire workplace.
So, the single most important thing to take away from all of this is you can't just eliminate these filters. They are a fundamental part of how our brains are wired. But you can become aware of them. Simply knowing that things like the halo effect, stereotyping, and projection exist is the absolute first and most critical step toward challenging your own assumptions, communicating better, and making fair judgments.
And that leaves us with one last question to think about. Now that you're aware of these hidden filters, which one do you think might be playing the biggest role in shaping your personal reality? Just thinking about that, well, that's the beginning of seeing the world in a whole new way.